Okay, call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance is first. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next thing on the agenda is myself and Will, our new member, being sworn in
Okay,
for the select board.
you're gonna go first, so that way you
Yes.
can show him the ropes.
You want to do it over here? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Just because you've done this so many times. You're used to it. Raise your right hand. I
Paget Simmons,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I continue a citizen thereof.
The Constitution of Maine,
The Constitution of Maine,
Article 5, Section 1.
Article 5, Section 1.
I will, in all respects,
I will in all respect
observe the ordinances of the town of Waldeboro
observe the ordinances of the town of Waldeboro
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of Maine.
of the state of Maine.
And I will faithfully
And I will faithfully
discharge the duties of Select Board,
discharge the duties of the select board,
assessors and overseer of the poor
assessors and overseers of the poor
for a 3-year term.
for a 3-year term.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
It only hurts the first time, Will.
Yeah.
So Will has some family here who is going to stand up with him. Would you like to introduce your family members?
This is my wife, Rebecca. 2 girls are here. Zoe and June.
Which one's Zoe and which one's
This
June?
is Zoe. The one's June.
Do you want to be holding June, or do you want to that way? Or is she just content?
Yeah, she's working 10.
She's teething, so.
Yeah. Right. Let's go to this
So,
one.
yep, do you want to-
Let's go that way. Come here,
Here, baby.
come here.
and raise your right hand. I, William Pratt,
I, William Pratt,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
I will in all respects
I will in all respects
observe the ordinances of the town of Waldeboro
observe the ordinances of the town of Waldeboro
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of Maine.
of the state of Maine.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Select Board,
of Select Board,
assessors and overseer of the poor
assessors and overseer of the poor
for a 3-year term,
for a 3-year term.
so help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Good job, Zoe.
Zoe, you did beautifully. You truly did a beautiful job. And now
We're going to move on to the election of officers.
we have to move on to the election of officers.
Is there somebody like to be nominated for the chairman?
I would nominate you, Mr. Simmons.
And I would second that.
Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay. Thank you. Now we're gonna go vice chair, correct?
Correct.
Would somebody like to make a motion for somebody to be nominated for vice chair?
I'm gonna nominate Jan Griesenbrock.
Second.
That was quick. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor? Right, we have this. Now we get assessors, right?
Yes.
Assessors. Would
I
somebody like,
nominate Jan Minzy.
is there a second?
Second.
Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Nothing hard about that.
And we need a
Vice chair.
vice chair.
Would somebody like to make a nomination for vice chair of the assessors?
How about Bob Butler?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other nominations? There are none. All those in favor? Well, I guess that's it, isn't it? Assessors and,
And overseers of the poor. We need a chair and vice chair
oh, okay.
for the Philbrook Fund.
Yep.
Do we want at this point to assign who's going to be doing the interviewing for committees during the next 12 months, or do we do that later?
Well, we have to do the overseer of the poor chair
Oh,
and
sorry.
vice chair first.
Is there somebody who'd like to make a nomination for that as well? For overseer of the board, for chair. How about I nominate Will?
I'll second that.
Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor?
The young oversee.
Yes. Yes. Very well put, Jan. Do we need a vice chair?
We need a vice
Okay,
chair.
would somebody like to be nominated for vice chair? Jan,
I nominate
yourself?
myself.
We will do that.
Yeah.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Now we can pick you can choose the committees.
Yes.
Who interviews for committees.
Now,
Right.
who was before Jan and the
Yeah,
colonel?
I was going to suggest that Will and I do it this year.
Is that fine with you too?
Fine with that?
Will somebody make that?
Subject to Will's availability. I
Yep.
know sometimes these interviews take place during the afternoon when you're busy, so. You still okay with that?
Yep, I'm fine with that.
So would somebody make that motion?
So move.
Jan, second?
Second.
Any other nominations? All those in favor? Yep. Cool.
Traditionally is now when we let the two newly elected select board members have a little something to say while their family and everybody is still present, so.
I'll let Will go first. Since I get sworn in first, I'll let him go first on this.
Chairman's prerogative.
I just want to thank my family for all their support throughout this, and the residents of Waldeboro for putting their trust in me to represent them. I hope I live up to the expectation. I'll do my best. And special thanks to my wife. Her support and encouragement has meant the world to me and enables me to do as much as I can for the town.
Cool. I second. And myself, I appreciate everybody that come out and voted and supported a lot of stuff that we've done in this town, and hope to do and try to keep up the good work that I've tried to do for the last 6 years, to do another 3 years. Continue to do so. Thank you, guys. Well, there's no public hearings tonight, so
No
yeah, I'll
public-
get presentations from EMS.
Oh, we do. Lots of things going on with EMS. So it'll be Director.
Richard, front and
I need
center.
you to go up to front and
Front
center.
and center.
And I believe his deputy director, you're gonna go after
I
him?
would just like to introduce to the board 3 new supervisors that we've hired at EMS. The first one, and I'll just have them stand where you are, actually, you could come scoot right around here if I call you on. First one is Ken Smith. He's from Cushing. He's an advanced emergency medical technician. Has spent the past 21 years of law enforcement, with 17 of those as a sergeant supervisor. So he has a lot of supervisory experience, and we're very happy to have him not only working for Waldeboro EMS, but also in a role as a supervisor. The second one is Jerry Dinsmore. He's from Waldeboro, and he has been in EMS the last 7 years as a basic EMT, and he's been in public safety and communications for the past 9 years. And the third one is Calvin Moran. He's another one from Waldeboro. He's been in EMS for the past 3 years and is a supervisor for a manufacturing company in Rockland. So as well, he has supervisor experience. So I just wanted to welcome them, as they've all been working for Waldeboro EMS, but now in the additional capacity as a supervisor. And thank you.
Thank you.
Right there.
This is our Deputy Director of EMS, Derek Booker.
So I want to take a few minutes this evening to recognize a couple of our employees who were involved in a situation on Mother's Day of this year. I won't name any names. And where an individual was suffering from a heart attack. It's kind of par for the course for our team to transport a patient from town to the hospital and ultimately transfer them to Maine Med for higher level care when they're having such an event. In this individual's case, they were getting him loaded onto the ambulance and he went into cardiac arrest. They moved him back in the hospital where between our crew and the hospital, they were able to resuscitate him, get him on a helicopter, get him to Maine Med where he ultimately was treated and released and he's in the process of making a full recovery. Since he's gonna be okay, Rusty, why don't you stand up? Rusty stopped by a few times. He actually was the individual on Mother's Day who we are very glad is standing with us here.
I'm glad to be standing myself.
So with that said, I'm gonna ask paramedic Justin Hills and EMT Kobe Lincoln to come up and we get a little citation for them as a team. This is something we're trying to do. Moving forward, I think we're good. Thank you. Give that one back, Justin. So these two are it's kind of funny backstory here, just to take up all your time. We were running shorthanded that day, and I had told Kobe the day before the only way he was going to Maine Med is if he picks him up having a heart attack. So he calls me on the way to the hospital and says, "Hey boss, we're going to Miles with a heart attack." And I said, "You got to be kidding me!" So I want to certainly take this opportunity to compliment Miles hospital staff. They're not here with us. They obviously put a lot of time and effort into. Yeah, good. And so I happened to show up and was watching our crew just interact with the hospital staff and with the patient, and I was very humbled and proud of them. So I'll take this opportunity to thank them and reward them. Thank you. You're welcome. Need a picture?
Hold it up the other way.
I think she wants to get a picture, Richard.
What's that?
I think she wants to get a picture.
Oh. You'll have to have a wide lens.
Wide's this way.
Thank you, guys.
I just have to say something. So when I heard who it was, because Rusty's a very special individual to this town, and he's volunteered, and he's I would say, a character of Waldoboro. And just in general, he's one of the first people I met when I came to Waldoboro. And he's just always, he's Waldoboro. When you look at Rusty and you talk to him, he's just a good man. And we're so happy. I actually called him up when he got home. And I was just like, "So, this is Julie." I was hoping he would remember who I was. Because he's just like, "I can't believe you're calling me." But that's what we do here in Waldoboro. That's what makes Waldoboro special. It's our residents, and it's the everyday heroes that we have within these walls. Our EMS, I'm telling you, they perform miracles, large and small, every day. Our fire department, our police department, we are so blessed with the emergency services that we have. But when you get to talk to somebody who's heard the angel wings, because you know that 2, 3 of your individuals that you work with on a daily basis, there is a pride that we all get, and I think everybody who sits up here gets when we hear those stories. And you really are just, you're heroes. And thank you for everything you do for us. We are very, very blessed as a community to have you.
Shall we move on? Oh, let's see, no public hearings. Is there any adjustments to the agenda?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Any citizens' comments?
They actually have to go back to work now. Wait. Go back to work now.
I thought you was gonna speak, Rusty.
He's running.
He can't run fast enough, I can see you. No citizens' comments?
Ruben's here, he should have something.
He's on the
It's on the
agenda.
agenda.
I left my phone in the car, I don't have any typing issues.
No citizens' comments? How about select board comments? Bob?
Just a short announcement that the transfer station management board met this afternoon and unfortunately had to increase the cost of mattress disposal from $5 to $10 to cover the cost of disposing. They basically go to a landfill at the moment.
That's it? Colonel? The only thing I have is Jan and I interviewed Thomas Ketterall the other day for the communications committee, and we were really impressed with his knowledge and professionalism. So we look forward to him doing some good work with us here in the town of Waldeboro.
Do you just want to make a motion to appoint?
He's in the,
Oh, was he in here? Oh,
yeah, yep,
Sorry, I skipped ahead.
yep. Jan?
Well, it's just so nice to see people here, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces that I see in other areas. And I was Kobe Lincoln's kindergarten teacher, so I kept trying to get his eye, and but I haven't seen him in many years. So I had all the Lincoln kids, so that was kind of fun. Well, it's nice to see everybody here, and thank you for coming. I hope Will has already done good things for the town. He's filled the chairs. Well done, Will. Yeah. You did
Now a
really
big chair.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Will?
I just want to thank our fire department and the other surrounding towns' fire departments for the response to the fire on Wagner Bridge. They did quite a job, and they were up there almost all week. We're lucky to have them.
Yep. That's quite an intense fire from what I hear.
Was
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. We'll move right along. Town manager's report.
I have a few things. As you know, we completed the closure of the landfill up at the construction debris landfill. The next proposal is the last phase of that construction. And in order to do that next phase, and Bob, did you maybe want to take a minute and explain what that next phase is with the,
Yeah, I'll try. John isn't here, so
John already left.
please forgive me for any misinformation that comes out of my mouth tonight. And Will can pick up too. We need to increase the area available to people who back up their trailers. And in order to do that, we need to move some stuff and cap it. So that's the next phase. And have we received any bids, Julie?
We did, Pine Tree Engineering for $12,100. So
Less than I thought it would be.
it is less for the engineering, so I was going to ask for permission to enter into that agreement. Your blessing
I
to
would make that motion.
enter into that agreement.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
One other thing, and that is I'm told by John, and Will can verify this, that women are actually better at backing up the trailers than the guys.
That's right.
Yeah. Go figure.
Thank you, Will.
All those in favor? Sure, all set there.
My next, just clarification for everybody is in the town report this year, we put in our audited financial report from the year 2019. See, this is confusing. This is where we get confused. Because that was the latest audited financial that we had, and that met the requirement. Our auditor is here this week completing the 2020 audit. So if anybody was confused why we put it in 2 years in a row, that was because our audit wasn't done and we needed that to meet the criteria for the town report. And currently we are working on that with the auditor. And I have something for all of you. I had an idea. Every once in a while I get them, and I made it colorful. I'd like to have some strategic planning sessions, if you can take one and pass it down. As you know, we had our community forums, which were a big hit. So what I've done here is taken some ideas. Who are we? There's 4 basic questions that I think we have to answer. And we've touched on this in meetings before about, Jan had brought it up, so it really dovetails into everything. And I think it'll give us a plan for moving forward, not only for myself as your town manager and in the select board, but for our committees and our employees. So the questions are, who are we? Where are we? Where do we go next, and how do we get there? And so those are the ones in the circles, and then in the squares. So the first one, who are we? Know our community, critical social issues, demographics, trends, know ourselves, what's our mission, our capabilities, our finances. Where are we? What are our strengths? What do we have? What do we do well? Review existing studies and plans, because as I've said many times, we have a lot of that already done. What do we need? Needs versus wants, priorities, affordability, sustainability. Where do we go next? Form decision-making criteria, develop strategies, ask the right questions, current opportunities and challenges, and how do we get there? Select the right strategies, organizational and support, what desired outcomes do we want to see, and then we have to execute our strategies. And then I came up with what we're going to talk about, who we're going to meet with, and I would just like to continue this conversation either at the next meeting or the following meeting. So I'd like you to take these home, give me your thoughts on them. This is just one person's thoughts. But I'd like to involve not only the select board, but I'd like to have each of our departments go through this exercise. I'd like to have each of our committees go through this exercise. And of course, we've had the community forums. We might just have to follow up, or unless you would like to do another one. But I think this will give us a really good direction. I think we've accomplished a lot over the last 4 years, but I think this really gives us a path for another 3 to 5. The comprehensive plan is one of those plans that we need to review. I just think that it would be helpful not only for the staff to be involved and for the select board to engage with the departments and with the boards and the staff to engage. I just think it'll give us a really good way to move forward. So if you wouldn't mind all taking some time to look at it and give me your comments, I would be very grateful. And perhaps we can put it for the second meeting in July discussion. Talk about timelines. I put down how long meetings should last too, because I figured out that without that, we tend to ramble on. So we need to have some guidelines for that. So that's all one more thing. The Waldo had their opening night on Thursday night. There was a play, Almost Maine. I have to tell you, it was so great to see the theater, downstairs. It was beautiful. They had wonderful art exhibits, local artists. Some people I didn't realize were artists. It was just a really nice night to be out. The play was really good. But it was just wonderful to see the Waldo up and running and open for business and people sitting together not, far apart. We still masked up, but not the performers, but the audience. But it was just nice to see the energy and hear about their future plans, what they have planned for what used to be many years ago a pub next door, and just how they're progressing. And it's just another great reason to love Waldeboro.
And it's gonna be on again Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And then big musical event coming in July. So,
Yeah, the girl from Tennessee.
yes, Luce. I forget her
Lydia
first.
Luce.
Yes,
She's got good sound.
excellent. So that's all happening right here in Waldeboro.
All set?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Consent calendar. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a correspondence to read.
Go right ahead.
This is to the George Ganthner Scholarship Committee. Thank you. I was so happy to learn I was a recipient of the George Ganthner Scholarship. I'm starting my second year this fall, and I am enjoying school. I currently work as a CNA at Maine General and have gained so much experience. Your generosity is allowing me to make my goals, dreams become reality. So thank you. Sincerely, Hannah Prock. And it's just so nice to get a real thank you card, a real card in the mail, particularly from a young person. It's real. And this was the cute thing. Right on the back, she put a little extra thank you with an exclamation point. So that's really nice to receive that and know that young folks are thankful for their scholarships. Yeah.
Cool. All those in favor of the consent calendar? Cool. New business. EMS policy and the medical director agreement updates. The Richard Lash.
Tag team on this one. Derek's gonna do the policies and I'm gonna do the medical director agreement. We've had a medical director for the last 5+ years, Dr. James Lee. He lives in Friendship, actually on Cranberry Island with his wife. His career has been an emergency room physician. He was a professor of emergency medicine at Harvard for 10 years. He worked at the ED at Miles, his last stint of working full-time. We pay him $1,400 a year gratuity to be our medical director. And he does an excellent job, and he's helped us many times get through little issues. One of the good things about him is the state medical director for the whole state. His name's Dr. Matt Scholl. And he was actually one of Dr. Lee's students, so we got a good in there when we have a question, an issue or something. So we get a good inside track there. Starting when we relicense in November, we need to have an official agreement with the medical director. So I talked with Dr. Lee. We kept it plain and simple, and so I think you have a copy of it in your packet. And if nobody has any questions, I would just like to get that approved.
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The only question I have is it doesn't contain the stipend.
No.
I guess it doesn't need to.
It really doesn't, and I will tell you, the town of Warren has asked him to come on, and he actually gave them a price of $7,500 to do it. He does a lot of work for us. $1,400 just so we can go out to eat once in a while, but he does a lot of work for us behind the scenes.
Just to echo Richard Allen, the COVID vaccination clinics, he was instrumental in helping us get those done, and that was a big thing. He really did it for the $116 a month that we kind of throw it in gratuity.
Yep.
So
He does trainings for us, he reviews. We have to have so many run sheets reviews. He does all of that. He trains on the run sheets. He gives us heads up if something sticks out to him that we need more training in a certain area. And so he's been really very, very helpful. We're very fortunate to have him.
Cool. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Then Derek will go. They have.
Yes.
So essentially, just working through some policy revision. I've written several since I was promoted, but these ones are sort of ones that were important to get checked off the list. So you have them in front of them, the station access policy, the evidentiary blood draw policy, and the uniform policy, which is basically just kind of been revised and revamped. And discusses kind of every element of how someone's going to wear the uniform when they're working for Walter EMS and representing us in public. So unless you guys have any questions on these, we'd just like to give them approval of the medical director's agreement.
I move approval, and I gotta say, it's a lot of work you put into this.
Thank you.
And I learned a lot about drawing blood.
Yeah, well, certainly one of those things.
Don't get any ideas, Bob.
No, I won't.
It was a gray area, and we felt we needed to address it, and I think we did that
You did.
with the policies.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now go home.
Yes, thanks. Have a good evening.
Had a long
Thanks for your time.
shift.
Moving along, special town meeting, grant was Max Johnstone, the Max.
B. Max Johnstone.
Hello, everyone. So, don't know if everyone remembers, but back in 2018, 2019, we got a grant to make some design plans for Dutch Neck Marine Park. These plans involve widening the ramp so it matches that of Pine Street Landing, making some improvements to the parking area. When those were done, the next phase was to apply for a voting facilities fund through the Department of Agriculture and Conservation and Forestry in 2020 so that we can actually implement these. However, something happened in 2020, so we couldn't do that. I missed the deadline. But this year, we were able to get at least the site inspection, we're approved through that, and so now we need to actually submit an application for this. And in reviewing the documents, one thing that is required is approval through the legislative body. And I asked Heather Siders, who's in charge of this program, to clarify that. And that is actually having the residents approving that measure, because there's 3 warrant articles that have to be approved, primarily saying that the residents of the town of Waldeboro are fine that the select board is applying for this grant if we actually get the grant. So what some people do is, what some towns have done is just put an article, the June vote, saying the town can apply for this grant on our behalf, and then they don't have to do this. We didn't do that. So if it is possible for the select board to just hold something before your next meeting in July 13th or on July 20th, because the deadline to submit the grant is July 21st, then I would appreciate that. It would be a very similar conduct to how we did the medical marijuana dispensary moratorium. I don't know who even remembers that anymore, but we just put out some notices, we let residents show up and vote on the measure, we have a moderator, and we vote on the 3 warrants, and then hopefully you have your meeting proceeding 20-30 minutes later. And it's just for the voting facilities fund grant. I know I talked to Julie about possibly the community development block grant on Alewives, if they end up getting their grant, that this would be needed. I confirmed with Doug Ray from the main DCD that that's not needed, it just needs to be a public hearing and a vote by the select board. So this meeting would just be for the voting facilities fund for Dutch Neck Marine Park. I'm working with John Daigle to get some final numbers, and I'm gonna make sure that the application is written up by the time so that when the notices go out, people have an opportunity to review the grant application if they like.
Okay.
So what were your 2 dates?
July 13th, I believe, is your next select board meeting. So if you want to just do it all in one night, then that's fine. I can also work with July 20, as long as it's before July 21st. That's the important thing. Because July 24th July 21st, I have to have it submitted.
So it has to be
by
the
5
next meeting, because we'll.
The only,
following meeting
the
will be
only
22nd.
caveat I have to that is Deputy Clerk Max Johnstone, you would have to run the town meeting because Julie will not be here at the next meeting.
Oh, no. I was expecting you were gonna do that anyways.
So you're not all that shocked. I'm looking, I'm watching your shocked
I'm not,
face.
she does this all the time, so I'm not.
Pam will be here.
Yeah.
So, our new clerk, it'll be her first town meeting, so she is in good hands between Marcus and Max, I'm sure.
Cool, we'll plan on having that on the agenda for the next.
We will put out the notices and do everything we need to do.
Cool.
Is that a 2-week notice requirement or
7 days.
7 days?
Max made me look it up just to be sure.
Yep, so prepare yourself for that. You got a little over 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks.
Yep.
Can you give us the questions, because they really need to have the questions to vote on.
Right now?
Yeah.
Can I run to my computer?
Yes, you can print them out for
Yep,
them.
so go ahead and proceed and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right, moving along. CTC fiber broadband discussion with the Ruben Mahar.
I don't know if you guys, well, let me start at the beginning. There's a few pieces to this next push to get broadband where it is. We have plus or minus 50 residents with no meaningful connectivity. So we're starting with a focus on that. And to that end, we did a neat thing. We used the cloud, which is just Google Documents, to work on a short survey we want to send out to these folks to have them fill out and tell us what they want, what they think they would use. And this is just a draft, so it's not on one page. But if you want to see the questions we've got, I printed you all a copy. If you wouldn't mind passing that around, sir. This is going to be different from what we've done in the past. Unless something new happens, I think we're out of grants. I think we're out of ways to get other people to pay for data in these sections. We're also not suggesting that Waldeboro do something where we pay to build a network out to just 50 random homes. So we're going to start with these remaining unserved people, and we're asking them where they are. We're asking them if someone in their household has a medical condition that would benefit from using telehealth. We're asking them if someone in the house is elderly or lives alone and wants a way to live at home longer by using elder care services. So that would be camera monitoring or video appointments with doctors online. We're asking if someone at that address owns a business without broadband. We're asking if someone at that address needs broadband for access to education or professional development. We're asking if anybody in the household works from home. We're asking them that if they're able to go to a website and run a speed test. So if they have any kind of connectivity, this is the site that the State of Maine Broadband Coalition uses. It's a very specific tool to help build out a map. If they're unable to run the test because of lack of connectivity or technical capability, we're asking if we can help them with that. We would reach out and arrange someone to go to the address and work with them to say, yeah, you definitely don't have internet, or to go with a cell phone and run a test and see what that does. That would likely be myself, or Bob's pretty technical, but someone that knows how to do that piece. We're gonna ask how they get broadband. We've lined up with major contractors along with one that says other, and we're asking if we can contact them. Once we have that data, we're going to use that data, we'd like to use that data with your permission, to fuel a question that we want to ask to ISPs, which is the second note we had on. We want to find out if any existing business will work with Waldeboro to build a network that takes fiber to every address in the town. We're asking if they're willing. We're not signing a contract, but we need to find out what that challenge looks like, how expensive it is, and really how difficult that is. Let's say Charter says, sure, we want to build a fiber network through your town. Great. What's our next step? Do we need to get a planning grant to pay for that? Do you have a flat number? Are we looking at a bond to get that done? If we go there, obviously there are other steps on writing that bond and taking it out to town. In any of these situations, the idea is, let's say that we found a way to work with Charter to build fiber optic internet everywhere. We would ask them to start with the unserved houses. Every place that doesn't have internet is passed by some kind of service on their road. So it's reasonable to extend the service there or to build out there before it covers the rest of the town. The service we're asking for exists in very few places. We want to do something new. I have a new sort of high-tech example I've been working on with VR with a company called Real VR. And they come to your house for rehab or for dementia care, and they use the internet to put you in this virtual environment where you can see your hands and move around and do these exercises that are reproducible. It requires an 80 megabit upload. The fastest connection you can get even on cable won't do that. Only a fiber optic network will. So that's sort of the most extreme use case I can think of. And there's other stuff on the horizon. If you're a small business and you get this kind of network, once you get light to your house, once you get a piece of fiber, everything else from a phone system to servers to all the infrastructure you used to have to buy and physically install, you can have delivered over that kind of internet connection. It's a whole new world. That's the thing they call as a service. It's telephone as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service. And I could go on for hours on an advanced version of that, which I will spare you from because I'm sure you've all been here for a while. You've had a big day. The start of all of that, the start of this whole moonshot is getting this survey answered, starting with our least served group. We're asking that it go out on town letterhead and that it come back either to the town office or the library. And that's why I'm presenting it to you, so you can take a look and make a judgment call there.
You said we've exhausted all of our grant possibilities, correct? I know we've applied for a lot of grants.
We're always looking. What's happened is there's still grants you can apply for, and maybe we'll get something. If there's something there, I'm not saying don't apply for any. There's a lot more competition. And to be honest, there's a lot of towns that are far worse off than Waldeboro is.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get these people internet, but it's not just about that. It's about keeping us competitive. It's about letting more people learn from home to get higher paying jobs. It's about creating a place where the Sylvania plan's a great place. I have one idea that I like for that space because all my ideas are data-based, and it's for a data center. There's enough power and fiber there, a very large company could come in and employ local technicians to run a data center out of there. Or an ISP could come in and make that their CO, their central office for all this connectivity. There's a lot of potential, but you need that network in everywhere to really take advantage of it. This is how you get everything from education to high-paid remote workers to pretty high-end, or even low-end local businesses that do a lot of sales, maybe they need video. This is how you get there. You don't do it with the infrastructure we have now. It's also about controlling that cost. Doing it this way will get something more affordable to more homes. I'm fortunate, I've got a great job, but I pay almost $100 a month for my internet connection. That's not something that's reasonable to expect most people to do, especially families. I get away with a lot of bull crap because I don't have kids. With what just my wife and I do, if we had a couple of kids, it'd be a whole different world. And there's a lot of that. This is a working town. There's a lot of families here, and I think this tool is necessary to make their opportunities for education and competition better. Everyone's doing this, and we need to jump on the thing too.
Is there fiber on 220?
Pieces of it. It depends on who owns it. So there's LCI fiber, which you're used to hearing about it. Charter Communications has fiber in different places. That's the cable company, but you have to be a business to get a hold of it. As an example, you can get a 100 meg by 100 meg connection through Charter, but it's $600 a month. Wow. Now there's other stuff in there that I'm not going to bore you with. There's reasons it costs that much. It's not a bad deal, but it's its own thing. It's not meant for education or if it's meaning video games and movies or whatever. Most ISPs have a piece of fiber running through this town, probably feeding some other town. Consolidated has it, Charter has it. Obviously, Tidewater Telecom owns a bunch, but that's not the same as getting that last mile network built. It's getting that network to touch each address. That's completely different from your middle mile stuff or your long haul stuff. There's a lot that passes through this town. We're on Route 1. We've actually got some pretty incredible resources, but doing something like this has to be purposeful. It has to be very intentional. It's not something you're going to wake up and found done. You have to ask for it, stare straight down the barrel, and then make a call. That's why I want to find out what it will cost us, how we can finance it, and then, hey, do we have the stomach for this or not?
Is there a map of any of this?
There's a map of a lot of it. We could talk about that at length, but I wouldn't do it in this kind of meeting. I have a rule where I don't like to talk about any company's infrastructure in a public meeting because I don't know what is okay for them to have public. If you want to know what LCI has, I would suggest a closed door meeting. Same for Charter, same for LCI, same for Consolidated. Julie once got an email she sent to me with someone asking if a piece of equipment was 5G or not. That was when everyone was scared of 5G, and there's people that burn that stuff down because they think it's going to talk to the vaccine crazy stuff. It doesn't happen a lot. My point is it's a safety thing. It's just like you probably don't want people knowing where your radio infrastructure is for emergency communications, or cell phone companies don't want you to know exactly how their towers are connected. You gotta protect that data. So you could get more detailed info on that, but those would need to be different meetings. It's not something you want me to answer here. Not something I have all the data on directly either.
I'm just curious, just like our infrastructure for our water and our sewer, and there's gonna be some sort of maps that show exactly where fiber is, fiber isn't, and stuff like that. There's gonna be maps somewhere that.
And that gets to another more detailed point, but I don't wanna, I know at the last time you folks were kind enough to let me present, there's other opportunities when you're talking about town infrastructure. That's really off in the ether. The short version is if you get to a point where you can build a whole network, the town could also have its own sub-network in there where you have one ISP at one location and everything's interconnected. There are long-term savings to be realized there, if you operate it right. But that's several stages in, depending on what we do. There's a lot of conversations we can have.
Yep.
But it all starts, my primary focus, unless the role changes, is I'm thinking about these folks that don't have internet and how I get it to them. I don't want to ask a town to pay for 50 people to get internet. I do think a pretty good sales pitch is, hey, everybody, let's build ourselves a network that no one else has. Then everyone has their fair shot at it. Everyone's looking at their own thing. And I look at that through the lens of a bond. There are other ways to get there, but that's the biggest challenge, so I like to think about the hardest problem.
Bob?
Ruben recommended a really good book to me by a woman named Susan Crawford called Fiber.
Yep.
All of Korea, South Korea, is 5G, the whole country. And what they pay for internet is a fraction of what we pay here in Waldeboro.
And to be clear, 5G is part of so 5G is cellular, but it's fed by fiber. Once you have fiber, you can stand stuff up on top of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rabbit holes I'm purposely not going down through here because there really are a lot of really cool possibilities that you can do. I'd like to focus on the broad aspect of getting this data. And then I want to paint a clear picture of what the challenge is and what the price tag might be. I think we need that before we can consider next steps. You know, I don't want to do a quick sale or anything. Let's fully identify this problem and how expensive it is to fix and see where we want to go. What do we do for the next century?
Can the CTC work on a map for us, for the select board?
Absolutely.
You know, I think that'd be a task that the CTC should be
There's
working on.
a lot of work already done. I know Max, who's not sitting there, there is a map that's got a lot of coding on it. I don't know who it includes. It does include who has cable and where LCI is. So it can give you a lot of picture there.
Well, I'm just thinking about future projects that we could be potentially having come to Waldeboro, and do we need to fix those problems before they come here? If there is issues, if there's no issues, then it's not a big deal. But if there are issues in certain places that we get projects potential.
And I really like where you're thinking because that goes into a lot of stuff. The book that Bob mentioned, Fiber, there's a copy in the library. You can listen to it on Amazon. I'm on audiobooks all the time. You know, they talk about things like construction projects. If you're digging up a chunk of road and you have the means, if you can put in even extra open conduit to be used later, that will save you money in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to put stuff underground in Maine, but underground is better than on the pole.
Yeah.
So I would say this should come back to the town office.
Yep. That's great. That's what we were ultimately expecting was approval, and we're asking for permission.
Yeah, we're suggesting the library is another source where they could also pick it up.
Okay, but I would
But
drop it off here.
You want it here.
Oh, so I thought you meant as approval.
Yeah, no.
Makes sense too.
I would say drop it off here.
At the town office.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Cool. Somebody like to make a motion for this survey to go out from the CTC?
I'll make that motion.
Well, yeah.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Is there any more discussion?
Just one thing, it mentions here about broadband access, broadband device. I think you need to define broadband. There's a lot of people out there that don't know, what are you talking about? You say broadband, you know, are you talking internet? Are you talking cell phone? You know, you don't know. Just
That's
define
an
it.
excellent question. So we actually use broadband, and maybe it should be defined at the top. You
It
brought up
should.
a really good point.
Yeah.
We use broadband specifically because anyone can get internet. basically. Broadband is a certain speed, which the FCC says it's 25 megabits down by 3 up, which is like 16 cat photos a second down, probably 2 up. In Maine, when you get a grant, you have to be 100 down and 10 up, which, let's see here, I guess I've said 64 cat photos down. I'm gonna make a chart later for that because I thought of it. So for broadband, we're looking for anyone that's slower than 25 by 3, effectively, because anyone that's slower than that, even though we probably don't think we can get a grant, that's where the line's gonna be to apply for a grant. So it puts all those things in there nicely.
Well, see, I'm back in the rotary dial era. That's where I am. So when you say 25 by 3, that means nothing to me.
And that's fair.
Absolutely.
Colonel's
nothing.
still buffering,
That's right.
buffering, buffering.
Yeah, the circle goes.
Right. Remember that? Didn't it
Yeah.
used to say that too when it was doing it?
Oh, yeah, the video's gonna
Yeah.
slow it. So,
Buffering.
yeah, we could.
And I'd
we
be
could
more than
become
happy
better.
to give it the dumb test, to flip it over. Just because I don't know, and if I have a question, I'd love to help.
Anyone that doesn't have this specific experience is good. I eat, sleep, and breathe tech, and I try to know what people don't know, and I fail at that constantly. So, yeah, anyone who wants to test this before it goes out,
Yeah,
there's no ego attached to this. We're communicating with regular residents. The people that haven't had access to broadband are probably gonna have what you described. So any help you can offer is gonna be very, very well appreciated.
So if you just get those comments to Ruben, is it Ruben or should I give it to Max?
Either is fine. We'll communicate on it. So
Okay.
whoever's easier for you to communicate with.
okay.
There's a Google Doc we could all work off of.
Okay, Bob.
Sorry, it just makes it so much easier.
But it does if you know how to do that.
Yes, it does.
That's a whole other
I'm
thing.
I'm not on my computer 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Clams, I don't need that to dig clams.
But I bet he could show you a better way to track them on the computer. You never know.
Maybe.
We need Ruben to set up we have to bring Ruben in on the Upweller project.
Just write it down in an email or I'll forget. But I'm happy.
Amen.
Next year, we want to catch the spawn.
Oh,
Chris Davis has, the
Remotely.
Darling Center has equipment that will test the waters and stuff when that event happens. But that piece of equipment's like $20,000, so he was a little paranoid about putting it in the Upweller, as a unsecured.
But we have maybe some
spot.
cameras and things like that. You can help us with how we could.
oh yeah. No, anything that I can help with, let me know.
And I also have to point out that today Ruben donated a refurbished laptop to the
That got me out
town.
of trouble with my wife who kept tripping over it. So that's helpful.
So we would just like to say thank you very much for that.
For breaks, let me know.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Awesome.
And the 2 books that are in the library, Ruben donated them.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, try to help.
Good.
It's a nice library.
We still have a motion on the table. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Cool. You're all set, Ruben.
Thanks for your help.
Yes.
Thank you, Ruben.
All right, now we're to the CTC member appointment. Would somebody like to make a motion? I hear there was a interview. Would one of you like to make a
Yeah, I
motion?
move Tom Catterall join the CTC committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to say, he was at the last meeting, he wasn't even on the committee, and his input was really valuable.
It's great to talk to
He's
you.
wonderful.
He's a very nice guy.
Nice
yeah.
way of thinking, yeah.
Cool. All those in favor? Cool, you have a new member.
I'm so happy.
All right. All right, moving on to election results.
Every year around this time, we have to report the election results, to the select board, which I hope Tanya included in your packet, that you
Yep.
received them. The one thing that I would just like to point out, we had 800, some people don't like to vote in the school for this, they don't even want a school ballot. So they'll take the town ballot, but not the school ballot. So I think we have to start educating the public that that is important. And what they're voting for. Because we were a little taken aback by that people literally just do not want to take the time to vote on the school budget. So that was one thing. But if you have questions on any of it?
Nope.
I want that one, actually. Can I borrow yours real quick? And I do also want to point out, we did receive, we have to get people involved with the budget committee. We had 3 write-ins, and then also write-ins for the utility district. But it would be really nice if people would take out papers, and I'm going to tell you why, because everybody likes to write in their own name or their husband's name. And it would be nice if there were already people there, because then we would have less write-ins, which it sounds good, but when you're counting Mickey Mouse at 11 o'clock at night and, you know, Wonder Woman and names like that, it's so some of the names, so for instance, we had 37 write-ins for the utility district and 79 write-ins for the budget committee for the 3 seats there. And a lot of them were prank names or people who just got 1 vote. So if people would just take out the papers, and it's only how many signatures? 25 signatures, get on the ballot. And, you know, the budget committee is really important. I keep saying that to everybody. The budget committee is really important. But we had 5 candidates for the select board. Obviously tonight we swore in Will Pratt with 520, Abden Simmons with 511, Kevin Court with 260. Seth Hall with 260, Kevin Court with 147, and Russell Brazier with 80, and 2 write-ins. And the SAD 40 Board of Directors, Sandra O'Farrell with 408, Karen Wellman with 375, and Jeanette Wheeler with 393 and 3 write-ins. And we also had, for the utility district, Gordon Webster with 642 votes. And the write-in winner there with 12 was Kevin Barber. And for the budget committee, Susan Ray Jackson, Benjamin Vale both had 37, and Kevin Court had 5. And all of the questions on the ballot, with the exception of Article 46, did pass. And the school budget, also, all questions passed on the school ballot.
Well, Julie, didn't somebody raise an issue when we had heard a rumor about it? Someone voted for themselves just to see if the vote was counted. And the result wasn't listed because there was just one.
Well, the result wasn't listed.
51 individual names to list. You're not going to.
So the night of the election, they are unofficial results. We were here till 11 o'clock. And I posted the clear winners of whoever was the write-in. The next day, we posted the top 3, I think it was, you know. If anybody wants to know, they're always welcome to come in. But, you know, we weren't going to publish on Facebook every single, you know, I'm not going to, it's a difficult task after you've been here since 5 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night to list every one of those. And we do check it. And the ballot clerks do sign off on it. And I will tell you, this year we had, and you're required to have 1 from each party. So we had our ballot clerks here. We also had 2 observers in the back during the count. So it is a very good system that we have. I have to say that. And that's, I would like to even reiterate that from the presidential election we just went through in November. We had a great system. We have a great group of volunteers. It's always two people, even when we're opening up, because sometimes, you know, when you get one of those misfeeds, that was a question we had a lot, because we had one bad machine that only Max can run stuff through. But we had a temperamental machine, and you know, somebody asked, well, what do you do? And we put them in a slot, and then later they are run again by the two election, a Republican and a Democrat. Anytime you open the machine, a Republican and a Democrat has to be there. And then you run it through, and if you don't, you hand count. And we had, I think it was like 9 ballots we had to hand count that night. So and that's a lengthy process too, because you actually have to hand count each question. So, but that just gives you a little overview. But I am very confident in, especially after having gone through our November election with the absentee ballots, with the whole process from start to finish, I just think is very secure, especially here in Waldeboro. So.
Let's see, old business, I see there is none. So agenda items for the next meeting. We already have one.
And Max is going to have questions for you now to see
Yes.
for the town meeting.
Sorry, I just had to be very quick with printing this off. So it's not going to be pretty, especially the first question. But there's a note that for warrant items 2 and 3, you can adjust the language to make it worded that the approval is contingent upon approval of state funding, which is the voting facilities fund.
Thank you, sir.
I can have it. You want one?
Thank you.
Susan, do you want one? So do you want me to just read it out loud, or?
Sure.
So Article 1 would be to see if the city/town will authorize the select board/town manager to apply on behalf of the city of town for state financing assistance under the provisions of the Voting Facilities Fund, Title 12 MRSA, Section 1896 and 1899 for the development of the Dutch Neck Marine Park, and further authorize the select board/town manager to enter into the Voting Facility Fund project agreement with the state subsequent to state approval of the project.
So the only thing I would change there, it needs to be the select board, not the town manager.
Okay. That was the first article. Second one, the appropriation of local, so the first one's obviously just authorizing the select board to apply. Second article, if the city/town tax appropriations are being used for all or part of the local share of the project cost, the city/town must raise the funds for town meeting or council action. So this is, when we are using our match, if this is going, and I spoke with Don Daigle about that, that would be through the Public Works capital budget, similar to what would happen with Pine Street.
Second, can that be an in-kind match?
That can be in kind.
Okay.
So it's whatever John is going to end up doing. And again, this one you can amend it so that it's contingent upon approval of state funds. And the third warrant, or third article, local sponsor is obligated to pay all costs of the project, quote unquote, up front. Therefore, there may be the need to authorize borrowing of funds which we would pay by state reimbursement. This is just saying that if we were applying for, I think the maximum was $150,000 with a 25% match. So if we're asking for $150,000, we have to be able to have $150,000 so that it, and then we'll get the $150,000 back from the state. Because I think the way it works is we can only ask for $75,000 at a time and get it back to them for these payment programs. So that's what the third item is about.
Have we got a cost to that project?
For how much the project can be?
I know you said you talked to John, but is there an estimate?
John. He said it would be a third of the cost of what it did for, a third of the cost for what Pine Street boat launch portion of the project was, which I believe that was 80,000, so a third of that be under 21,000, then add on about 20% for contingency. I'd bump that up maybe to 40,000 just for the ramp. And then I just need to know how much the parking is gonna be.
I would say we don't even need to, we can do 3, but I don't think we're going to need to authorize borrowing of funds.
Right.
We can.
We have enough in the front.
We have enough in the capital fund to cover that.
So do you want to just leave 3 in, or?
I think we should, just to be, because they want 3.
Okay.
They just want those.
They just want to know,
Okay.
but I,
And I'll make sure to have the final numbers by John by that time, and I'll.
So you can-
Peg was also suggesting I reach out to people who did Pine Street, and
Yep.
get their estimate as well.
Yeah, see, that total project was what, 260,000 or something like that?
That was about it, yeah.
So it's gonna be a third of that, so,
yeah, and they'll give us a good price, I'm sure.
John said that the two projects are different, because with Pine Street.
right.
There was a lot more to that.
Going on there, whereas this, it's probably just gonna be the ramp and the parking.
Yep. Yep. Awesome.
Those are the 3 for
Okay.
next meeting.
Cool.
One other thing I just want to bring up that happened today is I had a request from a resident to remove their boat for an emergency purpose to put it at Pine Street Landing. I told the person who asked that question, since we'd had some issues in the past, and we don't have overnight parking there, even though it was an emergency, I did let them know that Select Board was meeting tonight, and that if they wanted to make the request, they would have to come in, but they would have to also prove liability insurance and certain standards that the Select Board is able to require. So I just wanted to make you aware, I did make that offer that, you know, if you wanted to come before the Select Board, you are the only ones that could extend something like that. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew I had extended that courtesy for the person to come to the Select Board and ask for approval. I don't know what you guys would have done, but I did make it very clear that a minimum of insurance would be required, would be a $500,000 liability. And I tried to explain that it's not because we're anti-commercial fishing or anything, but that the insurance of that sitting there in a recreational area, and I understand that it's also a commercial landing, but it is also a recreational area that we accepted recreational funds for too. So those uses have to coexist together, and that the boat being there up on boat stands or whatever it's put on is a potential hazard that our insurance company had a lot of issues with. So I just wanted to make you aware. I had the request again. I said, you know, I basically said, you know, you're gonna have to meet these requirements, but please come to the Select Board, make the request. But, and I really took the time, I think, to explain to the individual that we have to be very careful with that because of the liability issues. I explained too that, you know, the neighbors, people who enjoyed going to the landing to have, you know, believe it or not, a lot of people do eat there.
Oh, yeah.
They eat their lunch and
A lot
stuff.
of people do lunch.
And that we did have issues, especially at nighttime, with it was a great place for some people that park alongside there. You might not see everything that they, you know, might be doing that, you know, the neighbors were very concerned about. So I wanted you to be aware that we did have a request for that, and I did make it clear that they would have to come here for Select Board approval.
Is it worth having a policy in place?
Well, we have no parking overnight. We have things, the policy, and according to our insurance company, they have to provide.
I don't mean an insurance policy. I mean a town policy.
We essentially have an ordinance that says there's no overnight parking. Now, we could make it stricter. You can do those things, but no matter what, they have to come to the Select Board for approval for that. You know, it is town property. They have to come to the town for that.
I guess what I'm suggesting is that rather than do it on a case-by-case basis, sort of off the cuff.
It wasn't off the cuff, Bob.
No, I don't mean it, I don't mean it that way.
Right, no.
It's a sort of a one-on-one or one-off.
No, it's not even that.
You get many requests like this?
No.
Okay.
So if you would like to do a policy, that's fine. But we have an ordinance.
For boats.
We have an ordinance for overnight parking at the town landing. Whether it's a boat, whether it's a car, whether it's a plane. Again, I don't have a problem having a policy, but if you were going to make an exception, it would be to come to the select board. If you, as a select board, want to come up with a policy that just says there's no, you know, I would, if you're going to do a policy, I would do the at minimum of $500,000 insurance for liability, that it has to be a diapered boat. Because whatever were to leak out of that boat is going to go right down the ramp and into the river. You know, so there should be some type of a environmental, you know, and I understand a boat could leak in, going out, here or there, but that's part of the liability issue when we had another boat sitting there that was of concern.
We could have a deposit requirement?
Correct. So that part, yes, but I don't want anybody getting that, you know, it's not allowed there. That's very clear.
Right.
But what rules you would maybe want to consider where something like that could be done? Again, that goes back to maybe that's, I know somebody had brought up that would be an interesting idea for some type of storage at Sylvania. Again, you know, just, I wanted you guys to be aware that I'd had a request.
Seems we have max capture too. Have you had any progress with what I requested? Somebody asked me to potentially see what we could do about putting a kayak ramp at the rest area across from Hannaford. Because a lot of people kayak up and down the river, and it's really treacherous getting in and out. Is potentially putting some sort of access right there.
It's a great idea.
I've put in there.
Yeah,
Will and I put in there.
It's a nice little, it's a nice little ride up.
Yep. And I asked Max if there was any grants to help do something like that with recreational. I don't know if you've had any.
Yeah, I mean, I can go ahead and keep talking if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Have you had any?
It's actually great timing right now because there is the outdoor heritage program that's going on right now. And they always do some small little programs that, you know, as long as it's not over 25,000, it works. And if we can provide a 30% match, we would score very well.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much this would be, but this is right up their alley. And, you know, I'd get a ram, maybe a sign or two to make sure to tell people to go up river rather than
Yes.
down, and clean up after themselves, all that usual good stuff. And yeah, we can do that.
I
don't know where the money's gonna come from, but
Well, because it's recreation, there isn't a component to the American Rescue Plan monies that might cover that for something that small. But that would, again, have to be approved. But we could,
yeah. And then there's another one, I think I told Will this, because the Conservation Commission's been talking a bit about, do you wanna talk about it? Cause it's.
No, go ahead.
I almost think this probably should have gone in front of them into the Conservation Commission.
Oh, I did actually send them.
Oh, you did?
Just
Okay.
telling them that.
Okay, so you've given them a heads up then?
Yep. Because I literally think that Dave, before you walked in and told me this, we were literally talking about that at the Conservation Commission. that
Yep.
Some people are just fishing off the side there and it's a very nice place.
Yep. It's a good access point, and you can go a long ways upriver.
We had you and most, Julie was gonna say something.
no, I just don't want to forget it. Just so you're aware, we're going to open up the blueberry fields again this year.
That's right.
For hand picking, no raking.
That was a big hit last year.
It was a huge hit.
What's it gonna cost us to continue to maintain that?
that was something that I was going to hand over to the Conservation Commission for some input into, because the commercial grower, they just, it's just not feasible for them to burn
Right.
it anymore.
It's too bad we couldn't get Rusty Murray on the Conservation Commission, because he used to do blueberry fields and run a blueberry company for advice on that.
Well, I'm sure he would still be more than willing to give advice.
Could be a consultant.
Yeah.
That's the same, as long as you have the contact information, you can come to a meeting and talk about it.
We talked about involving potentially the fire department in that. Maybe they could use it as a exercise too. Yeah.
That's what the thing is burning it is a big issue. You gotta burn it every other year
And
to
we-
actually have good production.
Well, we were told that this year would be okay, next year would be, or after this, whenever you do it,
Yep.
it would be coming up.
Should
We
burn
could
it next
harvest
fall.
this time, and I don't know when you burn blueberry fields, but,
Usually in the fall.
okay, then you would burn it.
And we talked about potentially alternating sides, and so you could always have one side open every year.
Yep, that's cool.
And that way, every year people could go up there and get something. So
Yep.
burn ones, because it's separated by
Yep.
that road, so.
Yep. Awesome.
It is one of our most beautiful assets that we have.
It is, and there's a lot of potential there for trails and other recreation activities, so.
Yep. Cool.
Great.
Awesome.
I think Max takes a lot of happiness out of some of our recreation areas that are truly beautiful. He always tries to find ways to make things even better.
Yes.
Cool. Does anybody else got anything for the agenda for the next meeting?
We have the town meeting,
Yep.
special town meeting. I will let you know, I will not be present in person. I will be virtual at the next meeting. I am making the trek to go see my mother. So I put that off, and I really should go.
I was contacted by a citizen about the Old Augusta Road and the Washington Road was really an accident, place where a lot of accidents happen. Don't know if it's true or not, but is that something that we might want to find out more about and maybe?
Oh, we beat that dead
We've
horse.
been there.
We've been there.
It's a
Yeah, well,
state, it's a state issue. They said, what, 2 to 3 years before they consider cutting the road down to,
Correct, like
yeah,
if you
we
give
beat
me the
that.
person's name, I'll have be more than happy to talk to them, but
Yeah.
our issue there is in 2017, actually on September 7th of 2017, Clint Collmore, Abden Simmons, were you involved in that, Bob? Bob Butler?
Yeah, I was up there.
Oh, I think everybody was, okay,
Yeah.
everybody but me, because my grandbaby was being born at that time, that's why I remembered the date. And the DOT met, and we really came up with a lot of different scenarios for that. Even the last letter that we had written, we had asked for the engineering for it to be done by the state, and we would actually do the work. And we were looking for funding for that. And basically, what they told us was before we should consider that, we should consider the Manktown Road. That intersection is actually worse than the old Augusta Road, Washington Road. So that one's one, I believe that one's number 2. And then there's a third one. Again, it's all dependent on state funding.
And then, is there a rescue plan meeting in Waldeboro coming up? Do you want?
There
Are
is
we
a
part of that?
rescue plan meeting, I forget what date it is, but you will be getting an invitation to that from the Lincoln County Planning. I will tell you where we are with that,
July 20th.
July 20th. So one of our issues that we had is I sat in on an MMA meeting with other town managers. We're trying to figure out if there is a way, and bear in mind, we've already spent half of our money in,
It's obligated.
it's obligated. So we have a half left. What could we do to partner with the county, maybe to do something else that would be useful? But it's kind of a moot point if the state isn't gonna sweeten the pot. So we kind of left it with Kate Dufour of the MMA is somebody's got to have a conversation with the state and say, well, what are you doing with your rescue plan money? What is the county going to do? So is there something that we all have a common theme for? And what I got from sitting in on that meeting is the needs are so vastly different. Just the needs from northern Maine are different from our needs. Some of the southern towns have a lot of infrastructure as water and sewer issues, but towns up north don't have any water and sewer at all. So there's just so much different focus. I did find though that the one thing is that our county is very open to having that discussion. So, but it would be good if the state would say, hey, we're going to sweeten the pot and give you some money. The county is going to give you some money and we'll put money in and maybe accomplish a task or do it as a group. So it would be very useful, I think, for all of you to attend because the county does have money. Again, it would be nice if the state would. The state got the money June 1st. We have not seen that dispersed. And supposedly they have to disperse it within 30 days of receipt. So we should be seeing something for our first payment by June 30th.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking for clarification. So,
It would be great
thank
if you would come. I mean, they have a task force meeting and I think we'll know something after they meet on the 7th July.
Cool. Does anybody get anything else? Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?